They told you that if it didn't happen early, it probably wouldn't happen at all. They whispered, sometimes shouted, that if success didn't come fast, it meant you were slow or weak or behind. But listen to me now, because this truth has been buried under decades of noise. Late success is not a failure of timing. It is evidence of power being forged. Nothing in nature rushes what is meant to last. The mountain does not apologize for taking centuries to rise. The diamond does not explain itself for forming under pressure. And the oak tree does not envy the weeds for growing overnight, because it knows the storm will reveal the difference. Napoleon Hill understood something most people never grasp. He saw it in men like Henry Ford, laughed out of rooms before reshaping the world. He saw it in Abraham Lincoln, defeated, bankrupt, broken again and again before history bent in his direction. He saw it in Thomas Edison. Thousands of failures, each one misunderstood as weakness by small minds obsessed with speed. The world mistakes delay for denial. But delay is often preparation. If success has come late to you, it is not because you were forgotten. It is because you were being built. You were not meant to win small. You were meant to win deep. Most people who succeed early collapse under the weight of what they didn't earn internally. They inherit applause before identity, money before mastery, attention before alignment. And then pressure arrives, and they shatter. But you were kept in the shadows longer, not as punishment, but as protection. Because power without discipline destroys itself, and destiny without character implodes. So you were taught patience the hard way. You learned to work without applause, to believe without evidence, to continue without confirmation. That alone places you among a rare class of individuals. Hill wrote that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. But only the mind trained to endure can recognize that seed before it blooms. Late success forces you to develop the one trait no early winner ever learns naturally: unshakable self-trust. When nothing happens for years and you continue anyway. When doors stay closed and you refine your craft in silence. When rejection becomes routine and still you return to the work. Something irreversible happens inside you. Your motivation detaches from outcomes. Your confidence detaches from opinion. Your identity detaches from circumstance. You stop chasing success and start becoming the kind of person success has no choice but to follow. That is power. Understand this clearly. The universe does not reward urgency. It responds to alignment. It does not move for desperation. It moves for certainty. Most people quit because they want results to validate belief. But belief was never meant to be rented from results. Belief must be owned before proof ever appears. That is why Hill emphasized definiteness of purpose. Not vague wishes, not hopeful thinking, but a burning, disciplined, organized desire that survives time. Late success sharpens that desire. It strips fantasy away, it removes ego, it kills shortcuts. And what remains is vision. Clean, ruthless, and clear. You begin to see differently. You stop asking, why hasn't it happened yet? And start asking, who must I become so that it cannot not happen? That question changes everything. Because now you are no longer racing others. You are refining yourself. You realize that comparison is a thief not because it hurts feelings, but because it distorts timelines. You are not late. You are on a different schedule for a different magnitude. Carnegie did not build steel with impatience. Ford did not revolutionize industry by chasing trends. Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Before he imagined a world that still outlives him. History does not remember who arrived early. It remembers who arrived ready. And readiness is expensive. It costs loneliness. It costs misunderstanding. It costs seasons where progress is invisible. But invisible growth is the most dangerous kind. Because when it surfaces, it overwhelms everything around it. Late success builds roots before branches. Depth before display. Strength before speed. That is why when it comes, it stays. You are not behind. You are being calibrated. Every delay has trained your discipline. Every setback has sharpened your perception. Every quiet year has strengthened your internal authority. You are no longer dependent on luck. You have learned leverage. And leverage is what moves worlds. So if you are still waiting, good. Waiting means you are still standing. And standing means the story is unfinished. Do not curse the time it took to get here. Bless it. Because when your moment arrives, you will not be surprised by it. You will be ready for it. And readiness is the signature of power. You were never meant to peak early and fade quietly. You were meant to arrive when your voice could no longer be ignored. There is a hidden strength in those who wait long enough to understand themselves. Not the waiting of hesitation, but the waiting of refinement. the kind that tempers the mind the way fire tempers steel. Most people break not because life was hard, but because it took too long. They could endure pain, but not uncertainty. They could survive effort, but not ambiguity. They wanted guarantees before commitment, proof before faith. But you stayed. And every year that passed without reward forced you to develop something rare, inner command. Napoleon Hill called it self-mastery. The ability to govern your emotions when nothing outside of you cooperates. The power to hold vision steady while the world remains unmoved. This is why late success is not delayed success. It is earned success. When the applause finally comes, it does not intoxicate you, because you have already survived silence. When money appears, it does not change you, because you learned discipline without it. When recognition finds you, it does not define you, because you defined yourself long before it arrived. This is the advantage of time. Early winners often build towers on borrowed confidence. Late builders lay foundations with experience, scars, and truth. And truth is heavy. It bends weak structures. It collapses illusions. But it obeys strength. You see, belief is not positive thinking. Belief is decision. It is the point where the mind stops negotiating with fear. Hill observed that every great achiever reaches a moment where doubt must be commanded, not debated, where excuses are no longer entertained, where clarity replaces comfort. Late success forces that moment, because when you have waited long enough, excuses expire. Blame loses flavor. Complaints grow boring. And what remains is responsibility. Responsibility for your habits, for your skills, for your mental environment. You stop begging life for permission and start issuing instructions through action. This is where vision sharpens, not the fantasy version, but the disciplined one, the one that wakes you early and keeps you working when motivation disappears, the one that survives rejection because it was never dependent on approval. Purpose, when tested by time, becomes unbreakable. You begin to understand something profound. Success is not an event. It is a state of alignment. Your thoughts align with your goals. Your actions align with your values. Your discipline aligns with your destiny. And alignment cannot be rushed. That is why the impatient fail. They move fast, but in fragments. They work hard, but in directions that cancel each other out. You, however, were forced to slow down long enough to see the whole picture. You learned that effort without direction is exhaustion. That ambition without structure is chaos. That desire without discipline is noise. So you built systems, you built habits, you built resilience. And resilience is quiet power. It does not announce itself. It simply remains. Hill wrote that persistence is the direct result of habit, and habit is formed through repetition. Over time, time was not your enemy. It was your training ground. Every day you showed up without reward, your persistence deepened. Every failure that did not destroy you sharpened your judgment. Every delay refined your patience. You became dangerous to mediocrity. And now, even if the world does not yet see it, you are no longer the same person who started this journey. Your thinking has matured. Your standards have risen. Your tolerance for distraction has dropped. You do not chase everything anymore. You choose carefully. Because late success teaches selectivity. You realize that focus is not about doing more. It is about eliminating what does not matter. You protect your energy. You guard your attention. You stop reacting. You start directing. This is where power consolidates. Most people scatter themselves across too many desires. You were forced to concentrate. And concentration, when sustained, bends reality. So if it still feels quiet around you, understand this. Silence often precedes impact. The bow is pulled back before the arrow is released. Pressure is applied before the breakthrough occurs. Do not rush the release, because when it happens, it will not be small.